Mic lock. Record. Finish. Mic lock. Button is on. Double tap.
Hi folks, Stephen Nightingale Ball speaking here of the audio blog, a podcast I've been doing a while now on Anchor FM. It's a podcast that I do because I've struggled writing a blog really, and it started out on Audioboo. If you don't know what Audioboo is, it's still used for podcasting this day. I don't know if many of my blind friends still use it, but Anchor FM is a lot better. You get a lot more ways to record and all of that. Anyway, I am going to do today's video that I'm putting out on YouTube. I've actually joined a lot of Facebook groups because I wanted to make an audience, reach out to a lot more people, and talk about my autism, Asperger's syndrome, dreams, spirituality, music, everything. Episodes have more been like a radio show than an actual podcast, I guess. But a lot of people ask me the same question. How do I start a podcast? You know, how do I get into podcasting? Well, for me, I've always been into podcasting, even before podcasting was a thing, because we used to do radio shows on cassette tapes and give them to our friends, and before that, I remember somebody was doing a research project, and I gave them a cassette tape, and they weren't really happy with it because there was background noise and all that. So we kind of did a blog on tape. I wish I'd kept the original of that, because I did a cassette tape, and a lot of it was things were happening to me, my moods back then, all that sort of thing. So the audio blog is kind of, it's not a journal. It's not Monday, I've been this, whatever. It's more of my thoughts, because we used to do live videos on the old Facebook there. And people I stopped doing them because I got into a little bit of trouble. Because they were never scripted and they were never prepared. Well, they were prepared to some point of degree, but they were never scripted. They never had any thought put into them. They never had. It was and everybody going live knew. He's going live, but what happened was, with one particular Facebook video, and I'm going to mention any names or anything, but I did something because this person wasn't replying to any messages and wasn't talking to me on his page. He was a producer, and we called him out on a live video. He had thousands of people that came in, and so on and so forth, and that got me into a lot of trouble. We had to do apologetic videos and all of that. Anyway, we stopped doing live videos because we thought there's no thoughts into doing them and all of that kind of thing. Most of those videos we did with the live streams we did were kind of our thoughts. It was complete raw. So we thought, how can we give the people that liked the live videos something that they can go and listen to? A lot of people were asking for it. A lot of people were requesting it again. They'd bump into me in the street and they'd say, "Oh, Steve, but the live videos are gone. We want your thoughts, we want this, we want that. So I said to them, look, there's a podcast I'm putting together, and I will share the link and you can go to the podcast. So I thought to myself, the podcast is going to have a lot more thought behind it, but it's still going to be 100% me, like the live videos. If there's something that I think it's going to get me into trouble, I'll delete that recording and it just won't go out. There's been a few times when I've spoke about something in a recording and gone, oh, there, delete, that wasn't brilliant, that wasn't wonderful. We'll research things and stuff. When I spoke about dreams, I did an episode on dreams. I researched a lot into that and so on. If I was talking about my weight, or if I was talking about my personal feelings, there's sometimes I would go and retake it and play it back and retake it and play it back. That's something you can't do with a live stream. If you do a live stream, you've got to be 100%.
9:52 p.m.
100%. You can't. You can't just, whatever. But I have said to people, when you start a podcast out, use your phone. Don't bother buying expensive voice recorders and that along the line. Just use what you've got. Because what is your podcast about? If it's like mine and it's an audio blog, you don't need a studio. You can use Anchor to record and Anchor to distribute, and it's free. You don't want to be, if you're just testing the water, you don't want to be, even Spreaker, a lot of people going, Podbean, all of that. But Anchor's a good one because Anchor puts you out on Spotify. You don't need to be sponsored by anybody just yet. And I'm gonna say this: sponsors are pretty tricky because what annoys me when people sponsor. If I was sponsoring somebody, I just want to say this now. I would want somebody to 100% give the truth. If I was doing a product and they said, oh, this is a pair of headphones sponsored by whatever, and we're using them to use for this podcast. Do you know they're not as good as the Bose, whatever, or Sennheiser, but they're comfortable. I can wear them for a good long period of time, and that's important. You're putting out a product. That's what you want. And so the person making the headphones going, oh, we're sponsoring them. Maybe we need to, we're listening to them, so on and so forth, right? That's the problem with a sponsor. Nobody, and there's a lot of politics behind a sponsor too. When you're being sponsored by somebody, not only do you have to say that you're sponsored by them, but also you have to legally do all the what's the name?
Mic trigger, mic lock button is on. Double.
There's a lot of stuff that you got to put in there. I have said in the past, I'm not sponsored to use this app or whatever. No, these people aren't sponsoring me and so on and so forth. And I wouldn't want them to. I wouldn't want them to, for forever content, because it becomes a corporate platform. the problem that I find with YouTube is some YouTubers, when they've got a sponsor, it's like all over the video, and it just becomes, there are some YouTubers that do pretty well, and their sponsors thrown in, it's done pretty well. The sponsor's not left till the end or whatever. I hate it when it's slap bang in the middle. I really hate that, because for some YouTubers that works, but there is some, it's like, I hate it when it's at the very beginning of the video. I absolutely hate it. I love it when they just explain when they've got a sponsor, but when they put it straight in the beginning, like, oh man, it's got, do it in the middle. But anyway, and I'm old school when it comes to YouTube anyway. But anyway, we're talking about Anchor. So you pick up the mic, you press record, and you talk. Maybe you've just got a brand new iPhone, you want to talk about the brand new iPhone. Maybe you have had a poo day. You want to talk about your poo day. Maybe somebody has, I don't know, maybe you know someone and you want to try and reach out to them. And care about what you put out. Is this something you could listen back to a few months' time and re-educate yourself by? I actually found an episode that I did last year, and it was so depressing. It was the, how am I going to do the weight loss thing? But anyway, I've done podcasts since. It might be that the news is depressing and you want to turn off from the whole world and turn your back on it all. Maybe you can help people. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mum and you want to put some educational stuff out for kids. It's strange. I've had people have come to my audio blog quite recently and say, I've been educated. And I'm like, what episode educated you? Because I don't know, what episodes. I personally don't care which episodes have educated this person. I do it because I love it. I'm not a teacher by any trade. So that's the first thing out the way. So I'm got a lot of tangents because I'm not a great teacher. I'm not a sit down, right class. It doesn't work. If somebody wants to learn something, the best way is to go off on little tangents. The best way, And another thing, right, is imagine as soon as you press the record button, right? This, in fact, when I used to do my imaginary radio station, which isn't so imaginary these days because we've got all the great streaming platforms like Spreaker, which I'll talk about another time. But tip number one, when you press record, you've got an audience. Imagine the person driving by in his car, the person walking their dog. They're listening to your podcast straight away. So think, what have you got to say to them? You're putting yourself out. Imagine you're in the middle of the street you're standing up on a bench in the street. You're one of these, what do you call it, so-called preacher people. But instead of preaching the gospel, you're preaching your life to those people. When people do podcasts, advisory podcasts, spiritual podcasts, all this, some of them, there's a woman that does prayers and stuff, and she's great. She puts 100% of herself out there. 100% of herself. And she does the prayers and tells her daily thing and does her sermon and whatever. And then there's somebody else who does something else. So, but there's only a few people. And the great podcasts is when the people put themselves, their own self out there, their own self. Their daily struggles, their mental health problems, their self out there. 100% of yourself has got to go out there. I'm sorry, it's one tip I give, even if you're going to the broadcasting industry, whatever. A podcast is something that you can't go, oh, I put this podcast out and expect 50% of myself to go. No, it's either 100% or nothing. Right? Because people listen to you. People listen to you. You want the audience to have... It's like back in the day when, we'd turn on the radio and we'd hear people like Ricky Gervais and all that kind of thing. That was personal to us growing up, and it was personal. And you see, radio doesn't do what podcasts do now. Podcasts do, they're the thing now. Radio doesn't have it now. It doesn't cut it anymore. They don't have, on BBC Radio 1, Kelly Osbourne talking about spots and sexual health and all that to the kids. Radio 2 talking to the elderly or whatever. It's not personal. Radio's not personal anymore. It's, hope you're having a great drive home through whatever, and, hope you're having a good commute to work or whatever. But there's not like little bits that go, capture the personal bit, not like, oh, sod the football, listen to this track, None of that now. It's all, if people want to go and watch the football, they can, because the radio's not as good. So the podcasts cut it now. If you're doing a podcast on whatever, if you're doing an audio blog podcast, like, how I do it, you've got to put everything out there. Everything out there. Because people turn on and they're not gonna be in their front room listening to it in front of their family. They're gonna be in their bedroom or wherever, and it's gonna be personal. They're gonna have their earphones on. They might be on the train commuting somewhere, or I don't know. Lockdown's happening now, so there won't be a lot of people doing that. But wherever they are, it needs to hit home. Whatever they're saying needs to be life-changing. And that's a podcast. If you're a video gaming podcast and you talk about video games, talk about don't just talk about video games, talk about the technology surrounding them and stuff like that. Make it more interesting than just stuff about the modern graphics and all that crap. If it's a music podcast, talk about music changing and all that kind of thing. There's so many things that goes into a podcast. It's unbelievable. But you've got to the microphone is your friend as well. Don't be scared of the microphone. Don't be scared to talk into the microphone. If you do YouTube videos, you shouldn't be scared of the microphone. Stage fright it's all up there, and if you're ready to do a podcast, you should be, It's you. It's your thing. There's nobody looking over your shoulder. Imagine you're stood in the street. Nobody cares, but somebody will. They'll stop and they'll listen. You've got to have that, stopping that handful of people and making them listen. Making them listen. That is the point. You've got to be interesting. You've got to have personality. Even if you don't have personality, you can get personality. It's pretty simple. These are all the simple things. You don't have to have a radio voice. You don't have to have a brand. You don't have to have that. You just have to have yourself. And the phone or whatever you have, laptop maybe, using Audacity or whatever. But the simplest things. Because, it's all well, you can go out and get a Boss BR8C voice recorder with twin microphones and all that. But think when you get a voice recorder, how long is it going to take you to learn how to use a voice recorder? If you've got your phone, you can download an app and you press record, save it, and put it straight out there. And there are so many podcasting apps out there. A lot of people come to me and they say, Stephen, I've got Podbean. How do I make my podcast go further? And I turn around to them and I say, if you've got 200 people listening to your podcast, you've done it. And they don't get people don't get what I'm at. But that's it, If you've got 200 people listening, I don't care how many people I have listening to the audio blog. But what we're trying to do now is reach people, get a DVD extra, get a community on board, get their thoughts and feelings and bring that into the podcast. Because, how can I help? That's what I want to do. How can I help you? How can I help the next person? What do I need to say? What's going to cut it for them? And that's the whole thing. When I do dreams and spirituality, it's always coming from me. I don't want to go out and get research for that because I've had so much. I'm qualified in that part of the knowledge. I don't do interpretations. I don't believe in interpreting somebody else's dream. You've got to interpret your own dreams. You've got to interpret your own, what happens. And you get inspirations from your own dreams. Inspirations. You get, all this, the future. You can see the future in dreams. A dream could be a vision. There's no rules about dreams. There's no rules or recollections of what you can do in dreams. And so on and so forth. And if people are interested, then I'm sure you will listen. And that's how it should be. And, there's nobody's judging you. Nobody's there to, burst in the room and say, hey, you shouldn't be putting that out. No. If you're talking to people about the love of God and so on and so forth, someone's going to jump on it. Someone's, and think, right, Luke chapter 4, verse whatever, it's in there, and then you come, great. There was a woman who was praying in the doing the daily prayer thing, and I thought it was great. I love it when people do that. I have people stop me in the street and say, "Is it all right if I pray for you?" And I'm like, Why are you asking my permission? I don't really get offended by that sort of thing. Somebody else might, but I don't. I think if it helps them, it's going to help, it's going to help somebody, isn't it? I do believe in God, by the way, and but I'm not one of these God botherers. So I don't say it like that, but I'm not what do they say? I think religion to me is personal, because I don't know. I've had a few things in my life to say. I've looked back and go, well, why have I not questioned this? God, is he there or not? But now I've realised, no, well, he must be there. The times that I've been saved, or times that, I prayed for a long, long time for a friend of ours to get a kidney, and he got one. Now, I knew he was going to get a kidney. I knew he was going to get one. And I didn't say anything for ages. And then I told him, and he was shocked. And he's like, how did you know for 3 years? How did you know I was going to get a kidney? And I said, well, I can't tell you that bit. It's something you've got to work out for yourself. I said, I just knew for 3 years. And I still, that was weird. Because I had the dream in, was it 2010? And he got a new kidney in, I think, was it 2013, 2014. So it was like 3 or 4 years later. And his life, turned around, and I'm just happy for him, I know things weren't meant to be for a long time, but but for me, religion's a personal thing. I think the thing that annoys me is, you're supposed to do this and supposed to do that. No, they're supposed to do that for themselves. I do save people. When people come to me and it's like, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they'd stop me in the street talking about, I thought, wow, they stopped me in the street because they'd stop you and they talk about religion, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about religion. But it's like, fine, they don't want to talk about religion. In fact, for me, I would talk about faith, not religion, my belief. And so I thought, do you know what? If they're going to have a debate, bring it on, the Mormons, they're a different breed. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, there was these two ladies, and I said, listen, I don't talk about religion. I said, but I'll tell you what this blah, blah, blah is and everything, a light and everything. And they listened. They listened and listened to me ramble on. They listened to me ramble. They listened to my ramblings. And after they said, oh, you have a nice day. And this, okay. And then the next week I went by and they said, aren't you going to challenge us this week? And I was thinking, well, I thought I did last week, but go on then, I'll told them a bit more, and I gave them a bit of revelation and la la la, and what I believe and la la la. Again, they were silent, and it was like, wow. I've not seen them ladies for a long time. I've stunned them twice. But, you know, I think if people want me to teach them, I think I don't know if they got saved or whatever, but I prayed for them. You know, I did pray for them. I prayed that they would change or whatever. I don't know what they've done, whether they've thought about anything, whatever. You know, because they would say, "Oh, if you've been on JW website, you know, I'll give it a look or whatever. I'll take your card or whatever." I did, you know, but the Mormons are a different breed. They, you know, "Oh, can we help you today, sir?" "Yes, stop that bus there, sir." And they'd stop the bus, and and then they get on the bus with you. "Can we help you with anything else?" "Yes, get me off at the stop that I need to get off at." In fact, I'll tell you one funny story. The Mormons, right, the missionaries, God bless them, they come over to do their thing. And this one time, I was going to work. I was rushing to McGull Radio. I'd left the house a bit late, and I knew my bus was due just before lunchtime, and you know, and so it's they stopped me in the street. "Oh, can we help you?" "Yes, come to the 300 bus stop with me. I need to get the 300. I want to use your eyesight." I said, "That's how you can help me." "Oh, good." Actually, they think that they're doing something. So they followed me all the way to the bus stop, and I said, "Are you helping so-and-so?" Because I know that they help a certain person. I'm not going to say her name. And they said, "Oh, yes, how do you know that?" Well, I know blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. You know. So anyway, they get on the 300. They get on the 300. And they said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to McGull." Oh, yeah, they get off. They got off at the hospital. I'm like, I'm so glad that they didn't come all the way to McGull with me, but they were going to, they just stayed on. They just stayed on all that way. But, bless them. But I think it's a personal thing. You know, what I believe is a personal thing. You know, I will tell you what I believe, but once I start, I don't stop, because it's what I believe, and you know, it's a personal thing. It's not, you know, I'll tell people what I believe, and that's what I believe. I don't believe it. All these other things, like there's a lot of Americanized rubbish that's come over, and you know, don't mean to sound rude or anything, but like people are saying, "Oh, you know, we can cure if you know, God can cure your sight," and all this rubbish. I've had people try it, and I'm like, no, mate. I keep telling them. I've had arguments with people saying, "Look, you know, if to get eyesight, to get 20/20 vision," I said, "It's impossible. It's, you know, it's impossible. It's not that I'm frightened of it. It's, you know, fine. I've heard of miracles happen, but it's a once. What is it? A spare of the moment. Because before Jesus died, there was a few spare of the moment things. And I'm not going to go on about it, but, you know, read the Bible and go into it with an open mind. Of course, I believe in a lot of things, you know, that a lot of people don't believe, because I think it's out there. This belief that we're not alone, you know. If we were alone, why would this, you know, there's a lot of things that I think to, get through loneliness, we'd have to go into space. So, if you want that, I'm going to leave you with that thought. Anyway, I'm gonna grab another beer and watch a few YouTube vids.
Close. Low power mode. But. Mic trigger. Mic lock. But mic lock.